morning again, everyone. 710 KNUS on a Friday morning, January the 2nd. I'm Peter Boyles in for Jeff and Bill. They're back on Monday, and good morning, everyone. Weather, 60 degrees, and on Saturday, I'll be back tomorrow morning at 9, following John Caldera, 62 degrees on Saturday, and Sunday, look at that one, 66 degrees. Well, I say it for the first time, Friday morning, January 2nd, 2026. Now, open lines, 303-696-1971. This is the question. The country is now 250 years old. The celebration will be, of course, 4th of July, 2026. Will we last another 250? And in fact, will we last another 100? Or as one of my friends suggested yesterday when I was bouncing the question off of him, he said, will we last until well, we're asking if we'll be here, what, in 20, come on, do it right, Peter, look for the right number. But in another 100 years, I didn't do the math, and I can't do math, but will the United States of America still exist as one nation in 250 years? I'm going to bring kicking the show off. You ready to do this one? All right. Adam Walker, morning show producer, director. We talked about this. I talked to Mark Crowley about it this morning. I talked to a lot of people about it before I decided to bring it on the air. I have a little bit of a frog in the throat. I went on my motorcycle yesterday. That was really brilliant. It was like freezing cold. So I got, you can hear it. 303-696-1971. And when you think about why nations fail and the parallels between the United States of America right now and the Roman Empire are staggering. And we have historians coming on this morning. David Smith will join us at 7 o'clock. There's a polemic about why nations fail. And we seem to fail as all others before us have. So it doesn't have to happen, but will it happen? So we begin. Adam, what do you think? This is... will the United States of America still exist in 100 years?
I think in 100 years it probably will, but I do think that in the future it will split into at least two different contingencies or two different countries. I don't think we're gonna expand empire building like old nations used to do. Warfare and the modern world is just too different, but I do think we will splinter into different factions at some point.
What will the United States of America, I wrote these down, what will we be called? What will the United States of America be called in 100 years?
That's a good question. Yeah. I'd have to think about it. I don't think it would be something, like America North and America South. Mm-hmm. I don't think that would happen. I don't think we would ever agree on something like Jefferson, where people want to rename parts of California to Jefferson. A couple other states have tried to do that. I don't think it'll be, the United States of Trump, anything like that. That'd be something I'd have to think about.
In your opinion, what will eventually cause the United States to no longer be a country? I wrote this one down. Whether it's 50 or 500 or whatever it is years, what will be, and again, eventually, if in fact, cause the United States to be no longer a country? This is my scribble from last night. And your thoughts?
I think it probably will be the divide between capitalism and socialism. I think.
Well, I was going to bring in New York.
Yeah, those states will split off into a socialist.
Well, we swore in a socialist mayor yesterday of New York City.
I'm a big science fiction fan, and if you've ever read the book Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson, what causes the country to split into different groups is corporations. So you go live at Walmart Corp, you go live for Sears, and then each corporation has their own little city-state.
That's rollerball.
Yeah, so I think it could go that way.
Remember, they said in the future there will not be war, but there will be rollerball. And I love that one. So what, and again, these are my questions, will the United States exist in 20, it would be, I'm trying to pick a number here. Here it is. How about What did I choose? I chose 2050. Will the United States exist in 2050?
I think so.
When you can't read your own writing, there's a problem. In 200 years, will the United States, what will be even known as? And I mean, legitimate. Jump in, everybody. 303-696-1971. Will the United States be in 2100? So we're at 2026 from the wall. Here we go. I agree with Adam. We will balkanize in the future. Will America? I love this stuff. 303-696-1971. David Smith is with us at 7 o'clock. Keith Ball, and he's now my partner. And his book, Terry the Tramp, The Life and Dangerous Times of a One-Percenter Biker. And we're going to do Terry the Tramp this morning on the show. So 303-696-1971. I now read as our date this morning, Friday morning, 2nd of January, 2026. Lines are wide open. This is going to get packed. Will this country be here in another 250 years? And then I cut short myself and I said, will we be here in 100 years? And people were sending us text messaging on, we won't be here. Well, will we be here in 20 years? So will the United States of America still exist 100 years from now? What will the United States of America be called? This is what I wrote down on a worksheet. Will the United States, and again, and someone said 15 years. Wow. This stuff is, come on, Peter. What will the country be called? Or countries be called? How long will the United States exist? That's another one I wrote. When will the United States be 100? What will the United States be like 100 years from now? When you can't read your own writing, you got to get a job, right? Will the United States still exist? Well, what will be the likelihood of the United States existing in 1,000 years? That was out of nowhere. In 200 years, what will the United States be known as? We've asked that before, Peter. Will America go down in the greatest civilization to drop and exist? So, 303-696-1971. When you see why nations fail, and historians talk about it all the time, why nations fail, if you look at the Roman Empire, and I did, and I've read Gibbon, and I suspect many of you did, nations fail. And they fail for power reasons. When nations fail, the power and prosperity and poverty, the three P's, seem to be the driving forces in history. Nations fail. I mean, there's a list of nations that fail. Historic examples: Rome, modern China. Have the Chinese under the mandarins fails. Politics and economics bring things up. And there's historical evidence that talks about all empires, and we've talked about this many times, all empires fail. I mean, look at this. I got to rip my reading apart here. Hang on, give me a second, because I stapled this junk. I found if Soviet Union fails, the British Empire fails. Look at the empires, the rise of China, and look at Arab Spring. We have things happening in the world. So, will the wolf survive? The USA will celebrate 250 years this year. It's July 4th, 2026, but I'm jumping the gun. And there's going to be all this big hoopla. You can bet on it. With Donald Trump there, that's going to be a standing room only. Here we go. But the United States, will it exist as one nation 250 years? I'm from the wall. No, definitely not. At least not in the same fashion that it exists today. No, I agree. In fact, sincerely believe that it won't last another 100 years. I'd be surprised if it lasts another 50. Wow. Just as some mercantilists like to characterize certain corporations as too large to fail, this is really smart. America has become too large to sustain. The original concept was 13 or more independent, semi-autonomous political units bound in agreement to mutual trade and protection. The idea that never had been done before, quite like that before. No one knows what the upper growth limit is in such a system. This is very smart. But sadly, it's not what we have today. Someone said, look at Minneapolis and what happens. Yeah, I mean, the welfare system alone is bread and circuses. When you think about the Roman Empire threw bread and had circuses. And it was one of the variables in the failure is welfare, bread, for bread and circuses. When nations fail, and they do. In this country, look at the precariousness. And Donald Trump is threatening the Iranians this morning. Can this country stay out of a war for 20 minutes? Truly. I mean, why is we talk about it all the time, a country made by war. The Romans were like this. They were policing the world. All right, we're going to go to the phones. 303, by the way, Blake Olson is off, so I miss him this morning. 303-696-1971 to get a name on the phone lines. We'll go to the lines. 60 will be the high. Good-looking day. All right, let's get it underway. Let's go to Greeley. And Ron, you're on a radio show, the first of the new year. Good morning, sir. Thank you.
Happy New Year, Pete. Nice to hear your voice. It's awesome.
Yeah, you're kind. Thank you.
Hey, it's I'm not going to say comical, but it's interesting, somewhat entertaining, if you will, when I hear you talk about people saying, in 100 years, this is going to happen, 50 years, this will happen. I'm very curious what those people's beliefs are. When I say beliefs, I'm referring to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because all that to me supersedes anything and everything as far as when is it going to end. And why do we always look at the non-Christian, if you will, ends of the world or the scary stuff, but we don't give serious consideration to biblical prophecy?
Well, you remember the other morning when I'd find on those studies, their term was the de-churching of America. That less and less people apparently are going to religious organizations or religious institutions, and historically, I mean, it's a legit question because that idea of nations fail, empires fail. It's real. I mean, I know what you're saying in terms of, the belief systems. It's my question then back to you would be the question, will the country exist? Will the country last?
Well, I'm not worried. I'm not so worried about the country. It's the world. It's not going to last. We're in the end of times. And I truly believe that because you can look at the Bible as far as the prophecies and see what they're saying is actually happening now.
But
go ahead.
I was going to say, wasn't a lot of that stuff written about Nero and what the persecutions of the Christians, because the early Christians would not accept Nero as God, and they began to write about what was going to happen in the end, and it was, predictions of the end of the world have been multiple. Not taking anything away from you, but they do.
No, and you're right. They have been, but those people back in the 70s, that say, "Oh, I could predict the world's going to end here," and you had all these followings. I mean, even as recent as a few years ago, a couple years ago. However, what makes this one more accurate is because the technology exists now that didn't exist then.
Meaning, an example, what you're talking about.
The technology of digital, of AI.
All right.
What they're saying in the Bible, one thing is that there's going to be a burst in intellect, and we're seeing that. You have the AI, you have the robots, which is scary. To some people that aren't God-fearing people, they just, this is cool.
Well, but doesn't the rapture come and you're in good shape?
See, that's another debatable item as far as the rapture, as to whether or not it's going to be, if we're going to be caught up before all the mayhem. Some believe no, we're not. So that in itself, there's so many questions. What we just have to do, just believe. You focus on the belief in God, and whatever comes, come what may, right?
Well, I mean, but history is a great teacher, and it teaches that why nations fail, and is our country on track to do the same?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The parallel,
and everything's on track. Everything.
The parallels
and
between
maybe we're the last. We may be the last ones to hold out for that to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I get here. Let me read this to you. It's interesting. It says, I was streaming when Peter comes on. I have been feeling so great that we are in a new year. It's exciting to be the 250th anniversary of USA. And Peter asks if America will be here in 100 years. Peter, you are the worst kind of mojo. I'm not sure how you think that any of those ugly thoughts you always bring on the air is always productive. Now, listening to Fox Radio, they're talking Charlie Kirk legacy. It's so uplifting, freedom, so grateful for choice. Well, there it is. It's a legit question, and I love stuff like this. Will this country, as we know it, still exist?
Well, isn't it interesting that they're asking you or indicating that you're bringing down, you're the Dr. Gloom?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
But I'm wondering if that person is thinking, biblically. I bet you they're not, because
give me what the biblical thought would be or should be.
I can't speak for everybody, but I do speak as far as what I think should happen. And when you read the Bible, it breaks it all down to something so simple. Have the faith of that as a child. Don't always, we have too many people trying to dissect and understand something that our mind can't even comprehend. We can't comprehend how the body was made. It sure as heck wasn't from this little bang that happened and we developed from soup. Everything's just too technical. But when you look at everything, there's some commonness there as far as the way our body needs things, the way our body extracts things. And when you look at everything like that, and you have a belief that there is one creator and not many ways to the heaven, only through Jesus Christ, when you have those beliefs, everything is just calm, Pete. You don't worry about this stuff because, it's almost, like I said, comical. It's very entertaining.
With relationship to worry, 250 years, brother, I'm worried about the next two. So, I mean, I think it's a wonderful question, and there's people upset about that. I couldn't be upset about a question, but I think we got a historian coming on, and we're going to talk about this. You
create thought, and that's always a good thing.
Well, you're kind. Hey, man, Happy New Year. Thank you very much.
Right on, brother.
All right, you too. All right, 303-696-1971. I didn't think the reaction to this question would be quite like it is. The country's 250 years old. We just entered into the 250th year. Will we still be here in 250? Will we still be here in 100? What's the country going to be called? There's some great predictors. 303-696-1971. 60 will be the high, partly cloudy. 62 tomorrow. On Saturday, I'll be here, and on Sunday, 66 degrees. Lines are open, 303-696-1971. How long will this country exist? It's really legitimate, and people are angry. Getting angry about a question. 710 KNUS, I'm Peter Boyle. Stay right here.
Your 710 5-day forecast for early Friday. We're keeping it mostly cloudy. Morning temperatures will be in the upper 30s. Despite the clouds, Friday's highs right around 60 once again. Turning clear mid-30s heading into the weekend with dry, sunny conditions. Saturday and Sunday, highs low to mid-60s with clear nights and lows upper 30s. Into the work week, we'll keep it mostly sunny and dry. Low 60s Monday, upper 50s Tuesday. Meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
And good morning, everyone. Peter Boyle's in for the fellows. They're here on Monday. We're back tomorrow on the Saturday show at 9. 710 KNUS weather, 60 the high today, 62 Saturday and Sunday, 66 degrees. It's January 2nd, 2026, and we roll into the 250th anniversary of the country. Will it survive? And here's from the wall, hell no. And I think this is good. Talking about we are globalizing. The country is globalizing too fast. We're gearing towards a one-world government. Anyone who pays attention we should be able to see that. I think that's a very, very good text. Let's go here. This is Tony in Littleton. Brother man, good morning. You're on the show.
Hey, good morning. Your question is interesting. I know you're drawing on parallels of other empires that have failed, and maybe we show those same markings. However, I think there are two things that distinguish this empire, if you will, from maybe all others, and that is, one, nuclear weapons. I cannot imagine any scenario that somehow the United States comes under threat and is no longer going to exist, and we're going to just hand that occupier our weapons. Here, take our weapons. We can't manage ourselves anymore. I don't foresee that in any way, shape, or form.
Well, it's not necessarily there would be occupiers, wouldn't there, or would there be just? I mean, I don't know. It's a wide open question. Your question.
It is a wide open question.
Yeah.
The second part of that is because of the financial system, the way it's so integrated and so dependent on the United States. If we go, kind of the whole world goes, and the whole world may be reshaped, whether it's financially or if it were some nuclear holocaust. I think of more.
Can we exchange just an exchange? I'm a believer in centuries having found, for instance, the century that begins with 1 and 8 was a European century. The century that began with 1 and 9 is ours. The one that's beginning with a 2, I think very well may go to Asia, in meaning Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, the PRC, Japan. It may be theirs. And the indicators are that it is theirs. So, and again, we're just beginning this. We're only 26 years into this next millennium. So, but I do, if you look at even if you go back to 1 and 6, and you look at the age of conquest, and that's what historians call it, with the Spanish and the Portuguese. Tony, where are they now?
I understand. Again, I understand the parallels. There are parallels that you can draw on. I'm simply just. I don't know that that's really the relevant question. I think the first question is, what is the United States going to be?
Same thing.
In 5 years.
Okay, 5.
In
all right.
5 years.
Tighten it up. Okay.
The question is, are we going to still be a democracy or are we not? And are you familiar with? Did you have a chance to read the national security document that was put out by the Trump administration maybe 3 weeks ago? 33-page document stating our values and stating our goals and so forth. Did you see that? Or
I did not.
Okay, so that's a document that every administration puts out, and this one in Trump and his administration has stated that they call it the Monroe Doctrine corollary, because he's stated that our objectives for the future is to protect the Western Hemisphere and be more active in the Western Hemisphere and not be as engaged around the world. He's basically opening up the concept of a multipolar world. He doesn't say it, but he's inferred it, that Russia we have no business blocking Russia in Europe. That's not our world. Our world is the Western Hemisphere, and he's certainly showing it with his actions. Oh, by the way, he also defines the Western Hemisphere as Greenland to the tip of Argentina. So, and we have now sent somebody to Greenland to still press them to fold underneath us. Well, that document is kind of important because that's stating what his goals are as an administration, and that is that we're going to decide everything that happens in the Western Hemisphere, and everybody else get out of the way. And I think you even have to ask yourself, what are we really doing in Venezuela? Is it the oil?
I had mentioned earlier, can't this country stay out of war for 15 minutes or 20 minutes? And the answer is obviously not.
Well, he's never stood up or went after a dictator. Dictators, he doesn't get in Putin's way. He didn't get in Bolsonaro's way. In fact, he imposed tariffs on Brazil because they were prosecuting Bolsonaro for his.
This morning, he's warning the Iranians.
And today's warning the Iranians, but Venezuela is kind of interesting. He doesn't really care if Maduro. He has no reason to even care about Maduro.
But stop again. This country has a tradition of backing dictators, and the idea came from Cold War, where the United States of America didn't care at all. And they would put people in power. Sigmund Rhee in Korea is a great example. We
would do that if we felt it was in our strategic interest.
Well, it was also the block to communism. When we're looking to put someone in power in Korea, it was Sigmund Rhee. If you look to the Philippines and see the despotic people that got in there, the Marcoses, and if you look any places in the world that the guy was anti-communist. In Cuba, when they would place or back.
Sure, we would back a dictator to block communism.
Absolutely.
But in this case, we're not blocking communism in Venezuela.
Well, but again, they certainly are. They are the Venezuelans. All the oil in Venezuela. I shouldn't say all. 80% of the oil in Venezuela goes to the PRC, and the equipment, the drilling, the rigs. Gone to hell. When socialism comes in, the great line that came out of Soviets was, we pretend to work and they pretend to pay us. And that's what happened to Venezuela. And they absolutely ruined a perfectly legitimate, and again, back to the oil company, the multinational oil companies, they'll buy oil from the worst human beings on the face of the earth, and no one seems to care. It is interesting as the history of oil goes, that's where wars go. I mean, if anybody thinks the first war in the Gulf to save Kuwait, the democratic people of Kuwait.
Okay, maybe you believe that Venezuela is about oil as well. Let me ask you a question,
sure.
Peter. Do you believe that the democracy is at risk
in this country?
Yes.
I'll let you know. I think. I'll take you back. If you're a reader of Nixon, Nixon had something called the Houston Plan that they did not enact. I would urge you to read it. And Nixon was thinking about not holding elections, and people don't know this. And Pat Buchanan and I had a lengthy conversation about it, and he legitimately was thinking. This is after Kent State, and everything's come apart, and he's legitimately thinking about not holding elections. Because I was on the receiving end for 5.5 years for saying that Trump did not win the election. And there are people that now are somewhere in the mist that wrecked radio stations across the country. People got sued for that lie. And
Peter, do you know, I got to tell you something. I got to interrupt you.
All right.
I started listening to this station because I heard you one morning saying the election was not stolen. This is a true story. Yeah. I somehow got onto 710 and heard you saying that, and I could not believe my ears that somebody on Salem was taking the position that the election was not stolen. And ever since then, I have been listening to this station every morning, and I went through George and Jeff now, and trying to understand MAGA and how they think and why they think the way they do, and what's motivated them, and how do so many people believe or claim to believe that the election was stolen. So going back to the question, is the democracy at risk? He doesn't really have to stop the elections. It doesn't have to be so dramatic as to stop them. He simply has to have enough collaborators to let him get away.
But now they're fools. I mean, But what's interesting to me, and I was invited to this New Year's party that was sort of ripe with that mindset, and I said, No. And through everything, including threats on my family, not one person has called me, sent an email, a text, a letter. Peter, I'm sorry. And it's like I just saw people just go into the mist, and they still find ways. And occasionally, Donald Trump will bring it up that the election was stolen from him. There was no steal.
You know, Peter, you love history. So, I was thinking about this the other day. In the 1770s, there were people that were making a legitimate argument that we don't need to break away. We need to stay under the king. They argued that. And in 1939, there were people who argued that let Hitler have his way. Now, in hindsight, we know those people were wrong, right? I mean, in hindsight, because it's history. Now, we know how it's turned out. We know those people in the 1770s that say stay under the king, those people in 1939 saying let Hitler have his way. They were wrong. But they didn't know then. I mean, now we're living in that era. We're living in one of those eras right now. We're living in one of those periods where MAGA is basically rolling over and letting him do whatever he wants, as corrupt as it may be, and not doing anything
internally.
And I'm not so concerned with like the people at your party or the MAGA following the base. I'm more concerned about Congress and the Senate and the Supreme Court collaborating.
This is 26 is now the elections, and if the Senate and the House become Democratic strongholds, immediately they are going to go for impeachment. I mean, it's almost an automatic.
Even if they don't get the Senate, if they get the House, they'll impeach him for corruption, emoluments clause violations. If nothing else, they'll impeach him for the corruption, for the billions of dollars that he's made this year.
That leads me to: will the wolves survive? Will we last? I mean, this internal stuff is really rough. And
it is rough. But do you do nothing? Do you let him get away with it without marking in history books? I think Democrats will say, we know that the Senate is not going to confirm an impeachment because the Republicans would not hold him to account for the last year. They're not going to hold him to account now. But we are going to record it in the history books that the corruption will not stand. We're at least going to note that a guy cannot use the office to make billions of dollars personally.
Well, there's a bunch of presidents I could say. Lyndon Johnson comes as a dirt farmer's son and leaves as a multimillionaire. He never had a straight job.
Well, I got a break.
I got a break. I love the show. Thanks. 303-696-1971. A bunch of stuff to read that came in. Will the country survive another 250 years? Don't. Oh. Good morning, everyone. It's a Friday, the second morning of January 2026. Did not realize that the open lines question was going to bring down the thunder. 60 will be the high and 62 on Saturday. I'm back, and then 66 on Sunday. I'll start to read these to you. I'm more interested in what people of Adam's generation think what their country's future will be. More than 31,500,000 votes were cast illegally. Don't prove the election was stolen. Look, if we got all these lawsuits that everybody paid off, including, right? Why didn't they take this evidence that you have and go into court? I mean, here's Rupert Murdoch paying hundreds of millions of dollars. Here's OAN, here's, all these people that paid off, and you still believe this lie. I'm stunned by it, because why then all these hot dog lawyers that used to do radio shows that proved the election was stolen? I didn't see them wandering into court, did you? No. You know why? I didn't see the pillow jerk do it, did you? No. He's running for governor now in Minnesota. On the back of all of this, especially in Minnesota, the home of the totally corrupt liberal government, I just look at this stuff. Will the country survive? You do this stuff, and you're Peter. Your last caller was useful idiot of the Marxist left. Trump is the only reason we still have liberty and free speech. Radio, yes, 2020 was stolen. I figured that. And that's irrefutable. Well, why weren't you in court? Why didn't Rupert Murdoch's attorneys come and get you? Why didn't Salem's lawyers get you? Why didn't Newsmax lawyers? Why didn't OAN come and get you and take you into those courtrooms and say, here's my evidence? No, they'd rather pay off than bring you in. Let's see, this one says, yes, Peter, I think America will purge these corrupt liberal Democrats. 60%, Tony stands in your corner, Peter. You take a call from somebody. Morning, Mr. Boyle. So we have you to blame for Tony. That's funny. AI will move America towards socialism, where 2 jobs will get eliminated by AI. Automation socialism may be the only option to stop a revolt. That's interesting. Maintain OPEC oil sales in U.S. dollars. It is slipping around the world. This one, Peter, Mother Russia survived 1,000 years. Well, make it to and surpass Spain and Portugal. But look at what happened in Mother Russia. It didn't happen in Spain and Portugal. Peter, I agree with you. If democratic socialism takes over the country, it will be here, but our way of life won't. Yeah, that's very smart. Morning, Peter. Prediction saw this years ago, and he sends me a map. Next one. It depends on what happens in our country. This one is spot on. It depends on what happens in our country, debt, dollar, and spending. Everything has an end. when we crash, we will bring down the whole world. I suspect we will splinter and become socialist communist, and the other half will be religious theory. That's very good. That's very good. So I thought about this because we're going into one more. The same Marxist lawyers that are circumventing Trump's presidency are the ones that ruled against election fraud and are refusing to hear the cause. Come on. Just quit it. The tyranny of Marxist judges, the evidence the election was not stolen. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. No one stole Jack, all right? And I know that has to be believed, but Rupert Murdoch paid tonnage. He didn't bring Pillow Guy with him. He didn't bring all the on-airs. He didn't bring anybody with him and say, here is their evidence, or including this and many, many, many other texters this morning. Why didn't they take you with them and show you, hey, here's this guy right here. He's got no, because there is no proof. Sadness and let it be. All right, we come back on the other side. The one and only David Smith from Baylor University, then Keith Ball, Terry the Tramp, 7:10 on a Friday. All right, we got, how many minutes do we got before, 3.5 before David Smith? We'll do this. Don in the Springs, get you on the show. Thank you, man. Good morning.
Yeah, I'm trying to give everybody a chance, and I'll make it quick. Basically, I think we're in a cold civil war, and, Republicans and especially the MAGA people, they have put up with so much from the Democrats, and they've done what they could to win elections and all that by hook or by crook. So that's why they're doing what they're doing. And I don't know if America will survive. I know the globalists want their world government ASAP. But we're in a state of it's in a bad state of the world. And the thing of it is, I wish the MAGA in Colorado would just let Tina Peters go and quit this free Tina Peters things. The more they do it, and I hate Jenna Griswold, I hate the Democratic structure, but I'm getting to the point where I'm saying, leave Tina Peters in jail, let her rot away, let her die in prison. I don't really want that, but if that's what it takes to humble these people, to make an example of her, so be it. I mean, Jimmy Sangenberger said if she's really that sick to not serve, then something can be made. But if they keep doing this, I'd like to see her die in a lonely prison cell and just die, and then the Democrats come to their funeral just to mock the family and all that, even, and turn this into a soap opera.
And so does the country survive?
I have no idea. We've had battles like this. I mean, even in the days of Lincoln, it was bad. The Democrats got violent just to keep their slave trade going.
But know that when the technology of Mr. Lincoln's time, the Civil War, we're going to talk with a pretty good historian here on the other side. It was quite different than this, way different than this.
Yeah.
And
I
don't
mean,
know.
you have the Klaus Schwabmans and all that want to rule the world and all that, and I don't know how that's all going to play out, as far as a world government is concerned. And yes, a world government has been advocated by leftists, Marxists, communists, and the most radical humanists and big A atheists. Scarlet Letter once.
Thanks for your time. Good call. Thanks,
Have a good
man.
one.
All right, brother. To the wall again. Let me go find these things. Like I said, sometimes, what's my great line? Talk radio, no man its master. The U.S. military mission is to maintain high oil prices. Next one is the dark ages will return. It's interesting, too. 303-696-1971. What I thought was going to be a intellectual, stimulated series of calls and email has turned into blackjacks. Anyhow, so I came up with this, and we'll ride it out. The country's 250 years old. Starting on the 1st of January, we're going into our 250th year. And will we last another 250 years? I mean, I think that's what will the country be called, and will national anthems and things like that. Whoa. So tomorrow morning, I'm back here at 9 o'clock, David Smith from Baylor. And then my partner in the book, Terry the Tramp, The Life of the 1% Bikers. And we'll do that coming up in the 9 o'clock. You ready to go, pal? All right, hit the button. We'll come back with, from Baylor University, historian David Smith.